Not so long ago, we showed you an awesome 20B 3-rotor build by Promaz Racing. Well, today, they're building a 4-rotor. Perhaps one of the most sought-after Japanese engines of all time, the Mazda 4-rotor isn't even a production rotary engine. Mazda built them as a race-only application in 13J and 26B variants. The latter version powered the famous Group C 787B Mazda, winning the 1991 24 Hours of Le Mans outright. Nowadays, however, it's not uncommon to see these custom engines powering a street car due to not only the performance aspect, but their unmistakable sound. Simon, last time we were filming here, we filmed a very, very nice 3-rotor engine.
Today we're doing a 4-rotor.
4-rotor.
Yep. It's a nice naturally aspirated per-fuel port.
Yeah, PP.
Yep.
I can see why people do naturally aspirated 4-rotors. They just sound incredible.
They sound amazing.
It's like the closest thing you're going to get to a Formula 1 engine.
Yeah, they sound like an F1.
So the last engine we filmed ran the Billet Pro plates, and this one is again, but what is the advantage, especially doing a 4-rotor build, in running an aftermarket plate like the Billet Pro unit?
Yeah, it's basically support. You want to be able to support that long crank, and you're not able to do that in the cast factory plates, and I can show you the reason. What people have done in the past, before the billet plates, is they run a insert in here, but you can see there's not much support, and there's nowhere to bolt it up to. So what they do is they drill some, they counterbore it, or I've seen it, and it's a bit, what we can say, bodgy, to say the least. But it's the only way they could do it previously, but now we've got a better solution. So what happens is, there's not much support here for the stationary gear, so they make a carrier, they put the stationary gear in it, and they cross their fingers and hope that it lasts. And 9 times out of 10
So that's sort of one reason why in the past people have struggled with boosting 4-rotor engines in terms of reliability.
So Billet Pro have got a specific 26B 4-rotor, 6-rotor, 8-rotor, how many, you just keep adding them up.
So this is different to your standard 13B centre plate?
Yeah, so it's got no oil filler tube.
Yep.
So you don't need that, that on a intermediate 26B style plate. But you can see the stationary gear will bolt up there, and you've got plenty of support.
That's really obvious, the difference there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and then if we get,
So this one's already been...
Yeah, so the stationary gear's in there. It's bolted up firmly, and it can't move. There's plenty of support there for it. So we'll start assembly. Nice new bottle today.
What do you got there? Hey, this was the star of the last video.
I know, I love it.
Brand new.
Brand new. Even the brush is good. Not bad.
So a lot of people were asking what this was called.
It's called hard setting gasket cement. They call it, some people call it aviation cement. This one's a hard setting one that we use. It just stops the oil from leaking out of the sump area onto the sides.
Now, unlike the last engine we filmed, these plates are not anodized, so this is the raw.
Yeah, this is a raw
billet finish, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah. So most people are pretty happy with the raw finish. We probably do 80% of engines in the raw, and the other 20% are coloured, anodized. Last time we built the 20B from the sort of mid plate, the 20B 80mm thick plate, and we built the back.
Yeah.
Then we turned it over and built the front.
Yep.
So this one we actually just keep stacking them up. The finish on these plates is just absolutely amazing. The amount of work that must go into them.
What's that part there you're dropping in?
This is the front shaft.
So is this a 3-piece crank?
Yes, 3-piece crank. Again, we're using unbreakable 2-piece race apex seals. With the Billet Pro inserts, you can request them without any ports in them. So when you've got a PP, there's no need to block any of the intake ports or anything like that because we've got blank inserts.
What size is the trumpet, I guess, you guys use?
50mm.
There are a lot of comments in the last video, Simon, about shafts.
Well, when we get older, this is all we can talk about.
What rotors do you use in this sort of thing?
NA, you want the highest compression possible without going the RX-8 one. So we use a high compression 9.7 to 1 rotor, and that's out of a 1990 RX-7. So we use them. They're lighter than the Series 4. Same compression ratio as the Series 4 non-turbo, but these are a lighter rotor. So the most important thing is to line, because we move the rotor around a bit, is to line the corner seals up, because you'll have big troubles after getting the apex seal in. How cool is this logo? You see that?
Yeah, that's mint. Are the seals different in NA and turbo engines, Simon?
They used to be years ago, but now we use the same seal because they're unbreakable, and they do look after the housing, long as you run enough oil in your fuel, 2-stroke oil. They won't break, that's the main thing. So you don't want them to break on these beautiful PP housings. And the Revs, they used to use carbon back in the days because they'll handle the Revs a lot better.
Yeah.
We've wound these up to 13,000 RPM on a 13B.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do get a bit of chatter, but everyone will be chattering at 13,000. So also, if you want to come over here, I'll show you. Mazda must have thought of us race guys, because they actually clearance these rotors that you buy new now more than they did back when they built the engines. Yeah. So, and you can see that mark there.
So they never used to be like that?
No. So if you pulled an engine apart, say they came out of a 1990 RX-7, it actually have more material on it than these do.
So it's almost like they've paid attention to what people are doing.
Maybe a little bit, or trying to cut costs.
Yeah.
Hence usually trying to cut costs.
With OE stuff.
And they can get away with it, you know. So, but it's good for us because in certain applications we don't have to put them through the CNC and side clearance them.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Mazda housings, you'll see a lot of imperfections.
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually fill them with like a liquid steel.
Yeah. Okay.
Out of the factory. I've never ever seen it give anybody any problems, but if people are using new housings and they go, gee, what's this discoloured piece in there? Because they're all cast, when they machine them, cast is porous, so you get pinholes, and where it's not important, they'll just fill them with a bit of liquid steel.
So they're still manufacturing these?
Yep.
There might become a time when they don't.
Yep, and that's when Billet Pro will kick in and make some new housings.
What do you call this, an intermediate plate in this engine?
Yeah, they're all intermediate plates. We call them 26B plates.
Yeah.
Because they hold the stack gear in.
So this is the one that's sort of, I guess, different to
this is one of them, yeah. Yep. And two go in a 26B.
Now, what happens with these ports here, Simon?
Nothing. You can just put little aluminium blank offs if you want.
Yeah.
You can leave them open. They're not doing anything because of the
it doesn't matter that they're open?
It doesn't, no. Just dust, dirt, whatever will get caught up in there. It's just like saying your engine's open up the top.
Yeah.
So it's not doing anything at all. Once this goes on, you'll see a big difference in the big sandwich that we're building here. Did we tell you how much we love our supporters? fullBOOST, Norton, Saint-Gobain, Garrett, Advanced Motion, Turbo Smart. We've got some amazing supporters in our industry.
Long time supporters too.
Long time supporters, yeah.
What are some of the things different about putting a 4-rotor together as opposed to the OE style engines?
It's more probably the way you're putting it together, and obviously some really long studs.
Yeah, I just noticed them.
made by Billet Pro as well. There's not much difference. It's all pretty much the same. It's just one big long sandwich.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got a big long engine, so you want to make sure your clearances are all. You make sure they're perfect anyway, whether it's a 10A or a 26B.
Roughly, what would you rev something like this to, and the NA application?
Look, I reckon it'd do 8,000 all day, every day.
Yeah.
That's probably what I'd recommend to my customers.
Well, the extra cubes, you don't really need to rev it that hard, do you?
Nah, but you could certainly get it up to 9.5.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't see any dramas with that. Last housing going on.
It's getting hard to frame this up, Simon.
This is a long one. There's probably not too many 26B billet engines getting built around the world. So
they're getting more popular though, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We sell quite a few of them all around the world. Yeah, and a lot more popular now. Everything's more accessible, more reliable. So those Billet Pro plates help a lot. So make the...
What do you prefer in this, NA or boosted?
I'm a turbo.
I know you like boost.
I love boost. Boost fixes everything. Boost is really good. That's it, final one. Close her up.
Have you made these before for like 13Bs or 20Bs?
Yeah, so the non-port inserts.
Yeah, non-ported
insert, yeah, there's a lot of people overseas, they run turbo application in a lot of drag cars, full PP.
Full PP, yeah.
Yeah, so we ship a lot of the Billet Pro products
I thought that was like the old meme, Simon, was it? Boost in, Apex seals out with the PP.
Well, not coming nowhere. No, not anymore because of these unbreakable Apex seals. So boost in, and when it loses comp, more boost in.
Have you had anyone ask you wanting to build a 4-rotor RX-8 engine?
Yes.
You have? Yeah?
Yes. So sell both of those engines.
Yeah.
And we'll put it towards one of these. The RX-8 engines are good on their own. That's it.
That's it.
You can even, we do a turbo kit for them as well.
Yeah.
But we won't talk about that too much because it's a big conversion.
I noticed you had one in the shop recently.
Yeah, we've got 3 actually. You love your RX-8s. Every time we do a video, you're talking about RX-8s.
I just like getting people rolled up about them.
I've owned RX-8s since they first came out in 2003. Still got one.
Yeah.
2 actually. I love them.
Well, one of yours is pretty fast, Simon.
Pretty fast.
I would probably rather fit a Renesis engine into an MX-5 than an RX-8.
Yeah, I reckon a good little conversion would be a turbocharged FD motor, making 500 horsepower at the wheels in a MX-5.
Yeah.
Or an RX-8. The FD engine is just a beautiful engine. I suppose that's why they ran it for so long. 10 years.
So this, 7
years.
7 years. So this 4-rotor is essentially based off the Cosmo.
Cosmo, yeah, ports.
Ports.
The reason we do the Cosmo because they're the biggest port.
Yeah.
And you can put an FD manifold on them.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
It's like the guy who comes in late at the party with like 10 pizzas, Simon.
These for some studs. I don't want to jinx my stand, but it's been with me for 21 years.
This engine stand?
Yeah. I think it's testing its limits at the moment.
Gee, I can see how important these studs are in such a big engine.
Yeah. Everything has to be aligned perfectly. And we use the studs as actual studs to support the engine from twisting.
Yeah.
So it's not relying on dowels, it's not relying on anything. It relies on the dowels as well, but the studs are precision machine to the whole engine.
Yep.
So you can see how they went in fairly easy, but they're all going to work together because they're so precise. When you got them loose, you get that movement and twist in it. We like to use the studs as actual studs and locate everything properly. My trusty torque wrench.
And that was another star of the last video.
I know. Good old Australian Australian-made torque wrench. How nice does that look?
That's awesome.
Need a big engine bay for this one. Yeah, that there.
Oh, that's your
There's
crank.
the sound of success. That there is, you know, it's all nice and lined up. Got plenty of end float before we put it all together. All the end float spacers and washers. I pre-assembled it before.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've spun it over and stuff like that, and it's beautiful.
Sound of success, Simon.
Yeah, definitely success there. We put a lot of Vaseline in our oil pumps to prime them.
Yeah.
Helps get oil pressure for the initial start.
Why not use RX-8 rotors in this to get more compression?
People do, but I haven't had success with them. I've tried them in the past.
Yeah.
And
You found this combination works better?
yeah. The 9.7s work a lot better than the RX-8. And the RX-8 ones, you've got to machine them out to put the bigger seals in. They got the extra compression ring as well. They're made for the side port pre-fuel engine.
Yeah.
Or an assist engine. I haven't had any gains with them. 10 years down the track when they want to refresh the engine, they don't have to do a lot of work to them.
That's a fair point.
They just pull it apart if they need another rotor or a housing, or it's pretty simple. So with legs, what we call the legs here, we don't machine them to 1/2-inch studs because it takes a lot of material away.
So Simon, she's all done yet again. Another killer engine.
Yeah, another little ripper.
Now this one's going overseas into a street car, like you were saying earlier.
It's going into a street car, non-turbo.
Yep, come together very good. Now, what's next? We've got to build like a 6 or an 8 rotor now.
Oh, well, a 6, I suppose, and just keep
stacking them up.
The engine bays are going to be
I was going to say, there's not too many cars you're going to be able to fit 6 rotors in.
Nah, so it'll be a full custom car, and BMW engine bays, Mercedes engine bays, Nissan engine bays. There's not many Mazda engine bays that these will fit in.
No. So obviously we just filmed the assembly. Now this is sort of the easy bit in a way in terms of time, but gee, there must be some hours involved from start to finish.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Billet Pro, obviously, we'll start with their plates. They're a work of art, and they take a long time to produce. A lot of man hours, a lot of machine hours to get them to this point. Same as the pre-fuel port housings, to machining our logos, let alone all the other prep work that gets done. So there's prep work on the crankshaft, obviously building the billet crankshaft. People say I say shaft too much, but what do you call it? Yeah.
What do they call it? Eccentric
shaft?
But no one calls them that anymore.
No, I call it crank because it's easier, but because people know it a lot easier. There's a lot more people getting into rotaries nowadays that normally wouldn't have back many years ago. Yeah. So if you say to them an eccentric shaft, they can't relate to it. But as soon as you say to them a crankshaft, they can understand that.
I think you were saying a lot more people are getting into them. Well, people are quite nostalgic, and also these things are quite reliable. It's not like...
Oh, nowadays they definitely are. Last week I built a 10A, which gave the Rotary world a bad name, I suppose. Yeah. But they're a tricky little engine to build.
You wouldn't do too many of those, would you?
No, I've got a few to build, but they come around very rarely. But they're an interesting little engine. There's a lot of gear in those engines that Mazda studded the actual engines back in the day. There was studs right through with nuts. But the principle is still there from 1969, believe it or not. A lot of stuff is relative to all of this. Yeah. It's amazing. So from the 10A to a quad to pretty much the same.
It's almost like whatever your imagination can think up with this stuff now, isn't it? Especially with all this billet gear, you can sort of make any part you need and
and we'll
go from there.
Yeah, the billet stuff, the crankshafts, and it's more people's passion that will make a crankshaft to suit a quad or a 6 rotor or 3-rotor cranks, even 2-piece 13B ones. It's more their passion for billet plates that get all these out.
Yeah, well, it'd be good to see
more
it
accessible.
In the car and up and running. Hopefully we get to see some media on it.
Yeah,
overseas.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure
It's going to sound fantastic.
Yeah, so hopefully our next one's going to be a 2-rotor. So hopefully you can come down and join us for that.
Yeah.
So
maybe we'll have to film a 10A one day too.
A 10A, yeah. Well, a couple of weeks we'll be doing a 10A. So if you want to come down for that.
Sounds good.
That's an interesting one. You'll be here for a long time. I'd like to thank, obviously, Billet Pro, my whole Promaz team, because it's not just, you just see me here building it, but it's not me. There's 6-7 people at least in our team behind this engine, assembling the plates, fitting the inserts, fitting the stationary gears, you know. So it's a Promaz team that really are behind all these builds, not just myself. I'd like to thank yourself from fullBOOST for always coming down and
that's all right.
And showcasing our fine work here. I think the drag racing scene pushes more of the Rotary aspect.
Sure.
So having tracks, drag racing tracks around helps boost the Rotary economy, let's say. But yeah, also I'd like to thank our sponsors, Norton. They're always supplying great products for finishing off or porting. So they're a great support for us.
I can already smell the BRAP fumes.
I can't even say the sound.